Tripathi ji and Dr. Subramaniam, and my friend, welcome Mr. V. Srinivas, and also congratulate him for being empaneled as secretary yesterday. All members here. In fact, after this very thought-provoking lecture and presentation, I would just take a few minutes of mine based on my own experience. I worked in the academy for a few months, then I worked in DOPTY. I had this training also division for some time. And then working in appointments in person itself gives an insight into what is required as a training and what is required as a faculty. So I'll not go into the details of the what is capacity building. It has been mentioned. It is beyond training, and it is something which strengthens the skills, instincts, abilities, processes, and resources that organizations and communities need to survive, adapt, and thrive in a fast-changing world. So it is transformation which is generated and sustained over the time from within. It's not just what we do in that 5-day module or a 2-day workshop here, but should go beyond that. There should be something which should be permanent and then ever changing. And it is also about changing of mindsets and attitudes and not just skills. So what capacity building requires, obviously there has to be a clear policy framework. What does the organization want, the vision, mission, and then there should be an institution which takes the resources to fulfill. And then of course we are living in a public policy framework, so there has to be a citizen or democratic participation and an oversight. And the capacity should be built to ensure that the oversight issues are also taken care of, which often we see in taking decisions, we do falter and then bring ourselves into trouble. And then there are human resources improvements which are required, which includes education, training, etc. So obviously this is a UN framework which has been taken into consideration while reaching to the Millennium Development Goals when they have developed, which we are all working for. So as mentioned earlier also, it's not about people but also processes and resources. And here I would like to, where we have all the state academies linked, and we are also coming up with a new academy which will be functional in a bigger and more, you can say, environment with more infrastructure. Because we should not just talk about training of in-service training or induction training, but we should also look into what goes into, and the faculty has to develop its expertise through networking, through their own development, how to ensure that they can also be an advisor to the government for improving processes and resources. In fact, National Center of Good Governance, which now is functioning, was precisely designed for this. And we would also like our state academy, which comes up in the new CG city, to have this capacity to how to ensure that how to improve ease of doing business, how to improve ease of doing living, and each department should be taken. And the training and capacity building should not just be linked to the in-service training or industrial training, but also to see the processes. What are the forms? What are the processes? Whether we can improve it. And that should not be limited to some consultants who come here, but it should be that if the training academy comes into play, then they have, as mentioned by the previous speaker, that they have the expertise of the academic expertise of the academy, and plus academic expertise of networking. They have the expertise of the ground level, grassroots level workers who can come and tell what is wrong and what is not, the stakeholders, and then come up with what best has to be done by the organization, and then start the training program on that lines. So that is the holistic aspect of capacity building, where the faculty should involve in themselves and evolve themselves, especially when when a lot of infrastructure is being and resources are being spent by the states on developing those training institutes. And of course, it's not just about well-defined situations just to give a skill set, but also in public policy we have unforeseen situations, and in unforeseen situations, how to handle those situations. We see so many incidents of our young officers saying something in the press, media mein kuch keh diya ulta seedha, and that becomes a major controversy. It causes a lot of embarrassment. How to deal with situations? These are the issues which need to be discussed, and because these are the things which bring the government into a sort of back foot, brings the officer into trouble, and a lot of firefighting has to be done to ensure that such things do not happen. Often actions have been to be taken. So fast changing scenario, the role of social media, the role of the civil servant at the lowest level. They can't shy away from media, but they cannot say something which becomes controversial, unforeseen situations. That development, that's something where the faculty has to be there to ensure that they are able to impart such situational analysis and all those things, to ensure that those who are getting trained are able to face those situations with more skill and with more confidence. So these are some issues which I would like to mention. And of course, citizen centricity has to be the main background. Now, what are the challenges? Of course, willing trainers. That is the biggest. We have to ask the question whether willing trainers are posted in the academy or not. That's the first question, a very basic question. And I give you my example. I opted for as additional director of UP Academy of Administration at one point of time. I was there. I was enjoying the work. But people said, why are you enjoying? So shifted in 6 months. And that will be a situation when many more of the state academies. The point is there are willing trainers. It's not that it's a punishment posting for all. There are willing trainers. There are people who, see in the defense forces, the best fighter pilot goes to the training institute. The best paratrooper goes to the training institute, to Wellington or whatever, NDA or wherever it is. Why can't be that the best officer who has been successfully done is co-opted as a training, maybe as a visiting faculty or maybe as a trainer himself? Because ultimately, you see, when we were probationers, अगर कोई आदमी आके, we know about the officers at the field level, we know कि कौन successful है, कौन failure है. And if कोई failure आदमी ध्यान बांटता था, हम कहते थे बेकार की बात कर रहा है, छोड़ उसको. We were just switched off. So the question is कि the person who has been successful in the field, if he speaks or she speaks, then the probationers or the in-service people will listen and imbibe. Otherwise, they will just leave. They will just switch off. And कोई होगा कि मोबाइल देख रहा होगा, कोई कुछ कर रहा होगा. So the thing is, willing trainers, the biggest challenge is willing trainers have to be inside the FS, maybe not as permanent, but maybe as a guest faculty or maybe at limited few weeks model, week, 10 days, 15 days, come and go and then give the training. Then, of course, recognition needs of trainers has to be there. Apart from that, the commission has given those extra salary. Other ways of recognition can also be there, maybe through, if they do some good research or some good papers are written, some additional work is done as consultants, maybe some little bit of security of tenure, of course, is an issue. The TOT programs are continuously evolving and they have to be continuously evolved, and UPT is doing a lot in that, and maybe the state academy and the national academy is also undertaking this, but this has to be a continuous evolution so that the training programs which ultimately train the trainers are also up to the mark. Then we have already discussed, one thing is very important, that we have to change the roles of the faculty from teacher to trainer to facilitator and to coach or mentor. Now that is very important. I mean, when we were the probationers, we had a different relationship with our first or second district magistrates, and they used to be the mentor. And even now, my first or second district magistrate is the mentor of my life. Whenever I am in trouble, I ask them what to do, what not to do. But somehow with time, this mentorship thing has gone. We have tried in the state, in UP, to ensure that there is a little bit of mentoring of officers, the PCS officers or the IAS officers, so that if the person has some sort of ethical dilemma or some sort of professional dilemma, they can go to the mentor and ask them, and that mentoring can give, the mentor can give a proper advice which can sustain him in the career in the long run. But that mentoring thing somehow it has not been successful. What we need, the faculty members, whether they are the permanent faculty members or they are faculty members associated with an academy, to go also do a mentoring job so that the officers can look back to that institution or the guru, what we said, the guru. Abhi aapne guru ki baat ki. So that linkage has, how can you ensure this mentoring thing is something which we need to understand and to do something about it. And of course, coaching is something which is totally different from training. Coaching mein to we, and this was an issue which I was in one of the training in Cambridge, where they had a session of coach, how to do what is coaching and how to coach and how to ensure that. And aapne jo kaha ki it is not that you have to tell them what to do, but that you are great, but maybe you have some issues how to self-generate yourself and self-develop yourself. That is what coaching is. So how can the faculty become a coach or a mentor is something which is a need of the hour, and we should do something about it. And again, last, policy perspectives. So pool of human resources who are achievers and with aptitude of training and academy enrollment, that is the first thing. And then bring them, and then we have outcome-based incentives for them. a fixed tenure, and then different cooperation between different training institutes to take the best out of them, and continuous redesign of the programs to ensure that the capacity is built with time as per the needs of the organization. We need to have the citizen-specific citizen welfare in the prime. And the last point which I would to mention before I would like to close, and this happens with all of us, in most of the training institutes or public policy schools, we have dearth of case studies which are specific to the state or specific to the country. We still many times go to the foreign case studies. And I will just finish with the last point that we had the Kumbh in 2013, when Mahakumbh, and then we had in 2019 also. Harvard came with a 40-member academic researchers. They did a case study on Kumbh. They went back. Our institutions are not taking any case study on Kumbh, but they teach that Harvard-based HBS case study to Kumbh to the officers who go from here to Harvard to study. So there was one, you see, understand, उन्होंने केस स्टडी कुंभ की बना दी और वो हमारे ऑफिसर्स जो वहाँ जा रहे हैं ट्रेनिंग में उनको पढ़ा रहे हैं और हम कुंभ की केस स्टडी तो 4 जगह होता है पूरे कंट्री में जो कि सब कहते हैं इट इज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट गैदरिंग अनमैनेजेबल गवर्नेंस फीट है विच इज अनइमेजिनेबल उसकी केस स्टडी हम लोग नहीं डेवलप करके अपने बचा सके क्राउड मैनेजमेंट कैसा होना चाहिए क्या होना चाहिए तो दिस जस्ट एग्जाम्पल टू शोज दैट वी हैव डेप्थ ऑफ केस स्टडीज एंड फैकल्टी नीड्स दिस issue to develop case studies which are specific to the state needs and then let that become one of the major ways of making capacity building of and training of the students or the trainees who are coming. I just wanted to briefly mention my practical ideas about it. Thank you.